I'm Davy. I'm awesome. And welcome to Davy's Awesome Movies, where I review the styles of movies that I love, the alternative, B-rated, cult-style flicks. And as I've talked about in the past, when I was a kid, I loved B-rated martial arts movies. And this film series was one of the top of the B-rated martial arts movies. This one came out in 1985. And it was directed by Sam Furstenberg. Written by Paul DeMichel, Gideon Amir, and Avi Kleinberger. Produced by Yoram Globus and Menahem Golan. Made by the Cannon Group and Golan Globus Productions. Distributed by Cannon Films Distributors and MGM. Ladies and gentlemen, American Ninja. The movie opens with a group of soldiers about to go on a convoy and at the same time escort the colonel's daughter, Patricia, played by Judy Aronson, back to her home on the base. But on their way they are ambushed by a bunch of guerrillas. They want to take the army trucks. Normally that would be an extremely ballsy move and the army would destroy you over that, but in this, apparently they were given orders to be peaceful and not cause any insurrections, so they're just like, go ahead, don't hurt me.
Let them take what they want! There's nothing here worth dying!
That's Sergeant Ronaldo. How he became a sergeant even though he's a pacifist is beyond me. But only one person in this group actually has some cojones.
Who the hell do you think you are? You have no business sitting here!
Shut up!
And this causes our lead hero to spring into action. Joe Armstrong, played by Michael Dudikoff. Duty. Patricia gets in the car and speeds off, but they shoot the back tire. Women drivers. Oh, that's right, we're soldiers. As the soldiers are getting the upper hand against these guerrillas, out comes some ninja. In the Philippines? And now, they're trying to kidnap the colonel's daughter. Joe grabs Patricia and runs off. But the leader of these ninja, the Black Star Ninja, wants to know who he is.
I don't know, he's a new recruit, I don't even know his name.
Man, the army is lucky to have him. Once they get a far enough distance, Joe decides he needs to get Patricia more woods ready.
I hope you're going to Italy to get me another pair because these are my designer shoes.
Shouldn't you be more worried about staying alive?
Skirt? Don't you touch my skirt!
Oh god, at this point, just let her die. Like the last time she was in the woods. To get away, they dive into the water and swim to the other side. And of course, she's clueless and whining and pissing and moaning over the fact that she's wet.
Shoes day.
Are you okay?
Finally, he speaks. 15 minutes into the movie, after Joe and Patricia dry off, they hitch a ride back to the colonel's place. And you would think that the colonel would be just happy that he saved his daughter, but he's not. He's actually pissed at Joe.
There was nothing in that convoy worth protecting.
You're angry at a soldier who protected U.S. Army property and your daughter at the same time. Starting to see where your sergeant gets it. As it turns out, though, none of the men at the base are happy with him. They feel his recklessness got 4 of their men killed. The colonel pulls Joe's file and finds out that he was a John Doe. Other than his first name, he does not remember who he is. He got amnesia over a mining blast that he was near when he was a teenager. From there, he went into a bunch of foster homes, got into a bunch of trouble and fights, until a judge finally decided to give him an ultimatum. Enlist or go to jail. Sure. Then we go to some Colombians meeting with a man named Ortega in the Philippines. And while they're walking around in his garden, Ortega points out at his gardener, Shinyuki. He'll come up later. Then he shows them his army of ninja. All sorts of ninjas. Red ninjas, yellow ninjas, blue ninjas, orange ninjas, ninjas of all the colors of the rainbow. Although, that was the thing, as a kid, you know, loving martial arts movies, loving colors, this was one of the movies that I referred to as that colorful ninja movie. The other one was this one. The Film Bestie and I are going to review that soon. He takes him to the Black Star Ninja, who is doing a demonstration with his other ninja. There was no reason for him to kill that guy. He just saw red. Back on base, Joe Armstrong meets Curtis Jackson, played by Steve James. Rest in peace. Who is also not happy with Joe and his actions, blaming Joe for the men that got killed.
So let's go, badass.
Funny that you call him that, considering the real badass is Jackson. However, Joe Armstrong is the lead in this movie, so he is very easily countering everything that Jackson throws at him. Which I call BS. And I called BS when I was a kid. Even though I didn't yet know what BS meant.
Hey! We don't stop till one of us goes down.
Jackson! But no matter how hard Curtis Jackson comes at Joe, Joe keeps countering.
Alright.
So now they can be friends.
And Curtis Jackson is man enough to admit what he's wrong.
Curtis Jackson is simply the man. Later, a Private Charlie comes over to ask a favor out of them. He needs a note delivered to a girl off base because he has to cancel their date. Jackson cannot because he's got duties he's got to go perform. Joe has nothing to do, but is not supposed to leave the base. So he agrees to do it anyway, but how is he going to get off the base? Cool trick. On Curtis Jackson's motorcycle. But when Joe gets to his destination, he finds out that this was a setup.
I have to see you.
Yes, go out and date the Colonel's daughter. That should go well. So, Patricia has Joe take her to a country club.
Oh, don't worry about it, Joe. You can order anything. It'll go right on Dad's account.
Oh, dude, you were just asking for it. If you want to save your life, order the chicken. The chicken! But at the other table, Sergeant Ronaldo is having dinner with Ortega. Patricia tells Joe about Ortega.
Dad really likes him.
Especially his taco shells. I prefer old El Paso. But Ortega already wants Joe dead.
And already I know how you are going to do it.
Any chance you're gonna kill him with kindness?
We don't care if you get it.
After their date...
Would you like to come in?
No!
Are you nuts? The next morning, Sergeant Ronaldo gives Joe a mission to take a truck to a warehouse. Oh, that's how you're gonna kill him. I figured you're in the Philippines. Kill him by giving him some store-bought lumpia. Homemade lumpia? Delicious. Store-bought lumpia? Of course, these ninja are no match for Joe. Joe also knows ninjutsu. He doesn't know how he knows ninjutsu because of his amnesia. I'm not sure that's how that works. Like, I don't think if you lost all your memories, you'd remember how to do martial arts. To make matters worse, Joe fights off the ninjas, but somebody has stolen the army truck. So he chases after it on another motorcycle he found. But eventually Joe gets in front of the truck and decides to climb underneath the truck. Instead of catching up and just jumping onto the back or something. It's Joe. Do things the hard way. Hope he got some strong arms. Armstrong! Once he gets back to Ortega's, Joe needs to make his escape. Ortega's men can't shoot for crap.
This way.
Shinyuki comes to help. But why?
You will know when the time is right.
Or you could just, tell him now real quick, but fine, whatever. He helps Joe get away. Ortega calls Sergeant Ronaldo.
He knows too much and I want him dead. I don't care how you do it.
Yeah, since you're out of ideas. When Joe gets back to base, he's being arrested. He's gonna be killed with prison food.
You'll get your chance to tell your story to the duty officer.
Duty. Just like his name. Twice the duty. But Ortega did not want Joe arrested. He wanted him dead. So the Black Star Ninja sneaks onto the base, and he is killing anyone that gets in his way. Or not even really gets in his way, just happens to just pass by him. But through Joe's ninja sense, he is able to sense the Black Star Ninja and get out and escape in time. I don't think that's a real thing, but you know what? 80s logic. Let's just go. After they fight for a bit, they've gotten the attention of the rest of the military base, so the Black Star Ninja does have to retreat. Joe finds Jackson and asks for his help to get off the base so he can go take the fight to Ortega. Jackson thinks he needs to go talk to the colonel first. Even enlists the help of Patricia to convince him.
If I mean anything to you, please trust me now.
Crying out loud, you guys have one date! But he agrees, and when they tell the colonel...
Sergeant, arrest this man.
Oh. Even at like 4 or 5 years old, I didn't see that coming. The colonel tells his daughter about Joe's criminal record.
Is it true, Joe?
Okay, why are they involving his civilian daughter in so much army business? Like, my dad was not a colonel in the Navy or anything, but when I was old enough to ask him about certain things, he told me, mind your business. Joe makes a run for it, even gets to an army jeep, and speeds off. Sergeant Ronaldo gets into another jeep, catches up to Joe, but Joe runs him off the road. I don't think that little thud would have really made that jeep explode, so I can't that. Ortega comes over to talk to the colonel, and it's during this talking that we finally get unveiled the secret. Come close. Closer. The colonel is in on it.
Duh!
I know! Mind blown! And apparently Ortega brought the Black Star Ninja. Too bad Gary and Wyatt weren't there to save her with a squirt gun. Do you really think I would get through a movie with Judy Aronson in it and not reference Weird Science? Technically, I could have done that with Steve James, too. He was in Weird Science as well. Didn't have any scenes with Judy Aronson, but he was there. Of course, the reason they had the Black Star Ninja capture Patricia is because the Colonel is having second thoughts. And we find out that Joe is at Ortega's.
It is time to remember everything.
Well, finally! We only got like 20 minutes of this movie left. Shinyuki pours some tea, and this tea makes all the memories of Joe's childhood come back. From the time he was little and Shinjuki found him as a baby and trained him in the ways of ninjutsu, all the way up to the mind blast, that caused Joe to lose all of his memories. Which, if it really struck all those memories back, then that must be some really good tea. Is it white tea? So after they're done catching up...
Now you are ready.
And Shinyuki, you are ready to be told that your name sounds suspiciously like a Japanese noodle dish. So the next morning... Yes, because that's what ninjas do. They announce their presence. Joe is dangerously outnumbered by these ninja, so Shinyuki comes by to help. They are still really outnumbered, but slightly less. But hey, it turns out 2 of them is more than enough to fight off all these ninja. I honestly don't know if that speaks highly of Joe and Shinyuki or if that just speaks very lowly of these ninja. But at some point, the Black Star Ninja got Shinyuki, and Joe has no real emotion about it. But just then... Jackson! Who, after storming his way in with his other soldiers, eventually comes face to face with a big ninja! Even though Michael Dudikoff is the lead of this movie, he had no previous martial arts experience before they filmed. Steve James, on the other hand, had quite a bit of martial arts experience before ever even making this movie. But this was the 80s, and they did not have the cojones to make the lead Jackson. Although I tell you, I would have watched the frickin' crap out of that movie. Ortega is getting away with Patricia, so the Colonel makes an attempt to save his daughter.
Let her go!
You know, if he would have lived, he would have been tried for treason, so kind of got off light there. Joe needs to save Patricia, but before he can get to her, he has to take out the Black Star Ninja. That'll do. Joe is able to go and get to the helicopter, get inside, grab Patricia, and jump off onto the roof safely. So the good news is Joe and Patricia are safe. Bad news is it looks like Ortega is going to get away. Until... Jackson! And now, we can have a close-up of the hero of this movie. Not him! The real hero! Jackson! So there you have it, that's the movie that launched the American Ninja series, American Ninja. This movie was actually one of Cannon's few successful movies. Like most of their movies, it was low budget, only had a $1 million budget, but did $10.5 million in the box office. And since then has a huge cult following. However, they originally didn't want Michael Dudikoff to play the American Ninja, they wanted Chuck Norris. Which might have been awesome, but he refused to do the movie because he didn't want to have to cover his face. Little vain, in my opinion. I mean, obviously your face wasn't going to be covered for the entire movie, but okay. When casting Michael Dudikoff, they were unsure about it at first because he had no previous martial arts experience. However, he was very athletic, so he worked a little bit with the fight choreographer, and he assured them he will have no problem picking up the moves. And you know what? It sparked something in Michael Dudikoff because he would later continue learning martial arts, and now he's a black belt. However, apparently that did cause some tension between Michael Dudikoff and Steve James, because as mentioned, Steve James was already a martial artist before doing this movie. And Michael Dudikoff was very worried about Steve James showing him up. So there was a lot of anxiety between the two that led to them not liking each other until about halfway through filming the second movie, where apparently they buried the hatchet and did become good friends. Kind of tells me that Michael Dudikoff has a little bit of insecurity going on there, worries a little bit too much about his spot, considering in American Ninja 4, that was one of the problems he had with David Bradley, that he was only going to be in the American Ninja 4 if it was made very clear that Joe Armstrong was superior to the character Sean Davidson. Basically, that movie got ruined because Michael Dudikoff couldn't get over himself, and this movie almost got ruined by the same thing. Now, the movie itself received mixed reviews from the critics. Most of them didn't really like it. However, audiences, most of them did. They didn't love this movie, but they liked it enough to see the second one, which is actually still held as the most popular of the entire series. 5 of them. Sort of. The 5th one's a sequel, but in name only. However, because the 5th one is considered a sequel, the heroes in the movies have all been in 3 of the movies. Michael Dudikoff was in the 1st, 2nd, and 4th one. Steve James was in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd one. And David Bradley was in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th one. 5th one, though, he played a different character, because again, it wasn't related. However, the director Sam Fistenberg has said in interviews that his 2 favorite movies he's ever directed were this one, American Ninja, the original, and Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo. We'll get to those movies later. Another interesting fact is where American Ninja has become like an iconic series, that wasn't going to be its original name. Its original name was American Warrior, which is the name this movie actually retained when it went to the UK. Although in Germany it was released as American Fighter. Another interesting thing about the cast, when Chuck Norris decided he didn't want to do it, another person who auditioned to play Joe Armstrong was Kurt McKinney, the lead from No Retreat, No Surrender. By the time they felt that he was too young to play Joe Armstrong. Which doesn't make any sense considering Joe Armstrong was supposed to be a troubled youth who was told enlist in the army or go to jail, but whatever. I'm honestly fine with it going to Michael Dudikoff. Not just because I can keep making fun of his name. As far as my personal opinion on American Ninja, it's not the best in the series at all. I wouldn't say it was the worst, but it wasn't the best. It was good, though. It was good enough to make me want to see number 2, which was good enough to make me want to see 3 and 4. 4 didn't make me want to see anything after that. I only saw number 5 to review it. But still, for an 80s martial arts movie, it was still very decent, and it launched one of my favorite series in the world, and I loved it as a kid. However, nowadays, would I say it holds up? Not really. I would say if you've never seen American Ninja, see it, take it for what it is. An 80s low-budget martial arts action movie. And if you can take it for what it is, then you should definitely enjoy American Ninja. So there you have it. That's my movie review this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, hit that little bell so you get notifications when I post the videos, and leave a comment. Tell me what you thought of American Ninja. Tell me which of the American Ninja movies was your favorite. Love you guys.